This is CBC Here and Now.
A report released today says Canada has failed to respect the basic human rights of the Labrador Innu Nation and offers a solution.
We were promised that changes to respect culture and the ways of dealing with problems would be made, but nothing has changed.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Mother Nature's air conditioner kicked in yesterday. Now we have lots more heat and humidity for those of you that love it.
After a series of concussions forced a man to retire from the Canadian Armed Forces, he says he fell into a dark place. Then he bought a bike. Now he's going to ride 120 kilometers for mental health.
We decided to take it on as a group this year. And that was kind of important to me.
I'm Jeremy Eaton. I'll have that story coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. The RNC's Major Crime Unit is investigating a shooting in the west end of St. John's. The call came in around 10 o'clock last night. Police found a man in the Harris Road area of St. John's suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. He was sent to hospital with what police describe as non-life-threatening injuries. Now, so far, the RNC hasn't arrested anyone, but police don't believe this was a random shooting. They're asking people in the area to send them any security footage or dash cam video. Well, a woman was killed in a single vehicle crash on the Torbay bypass road early yesterday morning. Police say she was a passenger in that vehicle. A male driver sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Police believe the vehicle was traveling north between Torbay Road and Indian Meal Line when the crash happened. That was shortly after 12:30 a.m. Witnesses are being asked to contact the RNC. Well, the country's Human Rights Commission says Ottawa still isn't doing enough to support the Innu Nation. It's been negotiating a land claim agreement with the federal government for more than 25 years. Today's report calls that unacceptable. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
The Canadian Human Rights Commission report says members of the Innu Nation have been denied basic human rights for decades, and it's caused immeasurable suffering.
There are high rates of suicide, there are housing concerns, healthcare concerns.
One author of the report released today said there is a solution.
Settling the land claims and rights issues. Once that's done, they will then, through self-government, be able to take responsibility for some of the things that are causing so much difficulty.
Innu leaders have been negotiating a land claim agreement with the federal government for almost 3 decades. Innu Nation leaders say it's dragging on too long and the federal government is failing its members.
We have waited a long time for justice, and many elders have died without seeing justice and died sadly wondering why Innu have not been treated fairly.
The Innu Nation's Deputy Chief Marianne Nui and the report's authors called on the federal government to step up the pace of negotiations, and they're asking for support from all Canadians.
I urge Prime Minister Trudeau, Canada, to respond quickly.
Governments act when people put pressure on them, so hopefully people look at that and let their government know that they expect more of them.
The Human Rights Commission has no power to compel the federal government to act, but the report's authors say a treaty with the Innu Nation with adequate funding would be a real step towards the federal government's spoken goal of reconciliation. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
We went from heat warnings over the weekend to frost advisories last night. These were the temperatures that some people woke up to this morning. Low-lying areas particularly is where we saw those cooler temperatures. 2 degrees in Badger, 1 in Lab City last night. But the temperatures this afternoon rebounded beautifully across the province. For the most part, 24 degrees was the afternoon high in Badger today, 27 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and 24 degrees in Lab City this afternoon. Now, as we head through the night tonight, those temperatures across Newfoundland are going to drop. And you see these blue temperatures here? That again is those low-lying areas. Likely going to see the temperatures dipping into the single digits, mid-single digits, which means that risk of frost, although not widespread, that risk of frost is still there through the evening hours, towards the early morning hours rather, as we get into Tuesday. Lots of heat and humidity on the way, but I'll get into those details when I come back.
Well, there are no new cases of COVID-19 to report today, and this is also the last day for the province's mask policy. Just after midnight, it will no longer be mandatory for you to wear a mask in public. But there are exceptions. Various organizations and agencies are announcing their own rules. People will still have to mask up when they arrive in court, for example. CBC spoke with one St. John's barber who says fewer restrictions will mean more customers.
It's going to be a soft opening for sure. We want everyone to know if they still want to wear a mask, that's totally fine. We support anyone's decision, whatever is best for their safety. But it'll be nice, it'll be nice to get back to business, get back to doing what we do. We've had to stop doing beard trims, straight razor shaves, facial services, so we've really just gone down to haircuts now, which is affected the amount of stuff that we can provide. I've had a lot of people asking constantly when we're going to start doing beard trims and shaves again, and honestly I've had no idea. Aside from like business and the lost income, it's been hard on the environment in the barbershop. Like, it's a communal space, it's a place where people come to talk, and it's not being able to see people smile, not being able to laugh and joke. It's affected the mood in the barbershop, which has been a bit of a downer. Most of my customers, I've known them my entire life. They're friends, they're family. And I think on occasion, especially with tourism and stuff going up, then there's going to be moments where I'm going to want to wear it. But generally speaking, I'm glad to see it go. It's going to be hard to say, like, is everyone going to start doing it immediately? Or we're going to have some people continuing to wear them? We don't really know what to expect until it happens. So it's hard to say, but we're ready for whatever it is.
Well, the Canadian border is once again open to non-essential travel from the United States. But some restrictions are still in place. U.S. citizens or permanent residents must be fully vaccinated and must have proof of a negative PCR test that was done no more than 72 hours prior to arrival. Now, Americans will also need to use the ArriveCan app or online web portal to upload that information. Time at the border is also expected to increase significantly. Well, the town of Torbay marked its 49th birthday over the weekend. It kicked off the celebration with a community breakfast and continued with outdoor music and activities. Torbay's mayor says after a long pandemic, no one wanted to miss the party.
Today we got our 49th birthday of our incorporation as a town. And it's an event that we decided to have today. We had breakfast this morning. We have some music and some things for the kids to do. And it's really important now that we're finding ourselves hopefully on the backside of COVID, that we could finally get some people together in a group setting and have a celebration and get together.
We've been stuck in this world with masks and not being able to gather together and stuff. So it's really awesome to see everybody be able to come together and not have a mask on and be able to do stuff like this again.
I'd say if you took a survey here of who's here, almost 100% of the people are probably double vaccinated, and I think that's probably an indication of where we are as a town.
I think it's really cool just seeing everyone able to get up and dance and have fun with their friends outside.
It is nice to be able to see a smile on someone's face for a change instead of always wondering, it's hard to recognize people with a mask on and how they're feeling and these things. And I think that just judging from people here today with the smiles on their face and gathering together with their friends and neighbors, that it's really a promising sign for the rest of the summer, I think.
Well, it has been a rocky road for the urban market. Last winter, someone stole a snowplow from the new St. John's small business, and on Friday, the store was struck again. Here's co-owner Ivy Allen describing what happened.
A man came into the parking lot, and we have it all on video footage. He broke into our new ice cream truck we were working on, and he took all the ice cream out of it. He took the payment processing system, which is equipment that nobody can use but us. So that's costly. And he also took a really old vintage cart that we had out of the Brookfield ice cream factory. Our staff use it to move all the plants we have. And he used that to push all his ice cream and the equipment down the Merchant Road. It's not even the little handheld ice creams. He actually took the big bucket tubs of it that we used to scoop into cones. He took 10 tubs of it, and it was over an hour, the whole incident, for him to break into the truck, collect the ice cream, bring it down to the cart, and then push it down the Merchant Road. We have had a couple tips, so we're just following up with those with the RNC, and we're hoping that we can locate the ice cream bandit, I guess you can call him.
Wow, the ice cream bandit. That's a new one. Well, in other news, a head injury crushed his dreams of serving in the military. Blair Hennessy was forced to retire and struggled with his own mental health issues when he bought a bike. Last year, Hennessy did a solo ride for wounded warriors, and this summer he's doing the same, only this time he's not alone. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton has that story.
I knew when I was 16 years old.
Blair Hennessy admits he'd always thought about joining the armed forces, a dream he lived out for nearly 10 years until a head injury cut his career short.
Unfortunately, in 2015, I sustained a string of concussions that ultimately changed my life, and I was stuck in bed, and I couldn't really do a whole lot. I was able to go into work just to check in, and over time, that led to my medical release, which was a huge challenge for me.
Those multiple concussions left him alone in a dark room that led him to a dark place.
It was honestly one of the most challenging things I ever experienced, and I think it's probably one of the most challenging things I'm ever going to encounter in my life.
On his road to recovery, he found cycling. He bought a bike during the pandemic peak and started riding. He learned about Wounded Warriors Canada, a group that helps veterans, first responders, and their families, and did a fundraising ride last year by himself, making the 80-kilometer trek from Whitburn to St. John's.
This year, I joined a triathlon club, and I learned a lot about multiple disciplines, but I also learned a lot about the people in the club and how supportive they are. So we decided to take it on as a group this year, and that was kind of important to me.
Oh, we're so lucky. Blair joined the club. We got to meet Blair and seeing his passion, and we just followed that passion.
A few members of the group learned about this ride for mental health and wanted to help fundraise. But they didn't stop there. A few dozen Triathlon triathletes are now going to join him on his 120-kilometer ride to raise money.
So he will not be alone this year at all. I think there's almost sub 50 riders going along also. So it's going to be great.
Together, the group and Hennessy are a great fit, and he's gotten fitter. In July, he completed his first Ironman triathlon.
After my injuries, I didn't think I was going to be doing very much ever again. I spent a long time being unable to do anything other than weight train when my body allowed me to, and then buying that bicycle last year was truly something that opened up a door that things I never thought were possible, even before my injuries.
But this is more than just cycling. Hennessy is now an advocate for brain injuries and is heading to physiotherapy school in the fall. He wants the training to help others in a similar situation. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
A whale of a time. Ashley enjoyed a day on the water and saw quite the show. We'll take you on a tour with her coming up. Time for a look at the weather in just a moment. But first, we've been sharing lots of great viewer videos of whales over the last month or so, and we have a new one to add tonight, right, Ashley?
Yes, we do. And all those videos made me want to get to see a whale up close. So Captain Joe from O'Brien's Boat Tours took me on board, and what a day for it. I even got to release a couple of baby puffins back to their home on Gull Island. So take a look.
Hi, my name is Joe from O'Brien's. Welcome to Go Tours today. We have Ashley Broutweiler, and we got puffy blue sky, and we got 26 or 28 or 29 degrees. I can't tell. The sun is in my eyes.
Everybody hold on to the rail. Isn't the water beautiful? It's just like the tour guide.
Around this time of year, the puffins start fledging, and they're supposed to go outward into sea. But what happens is, when they're normally supposed to follow the moon, they end up following streetlights and they get stranded on land. And so what we do is we drive around the community and try and pick them up and get them so we can release them out into the water in the morning.
I've been with my dad 2 years ago on an Alaska whale watching tour and didn't see anything like we saw here today. Yeah, I just phoned my wife. She's at home in Ontario, and I said, guess where I am? And she sounded very jealous.
The whales and the breaching, like I was screeching. And my daughter was with me 3 weeks ago when we were here, and I was just like texting her. And one of the tour guides came up to me and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm texting my daughter. I'm like, I'm sending her pictures. And I was just, oh, it's amazing.
This has been a really awesome day for it. But off and on, probably once or twice a week we see it, but not as often as that. This has been exceptional.
We just had a great whale watch. We saw a young humpback, a juvenile, jump out of the water, tell everybody how happy he is eating the great capelin fish. So the big trick is when you go whale watching, to be nice to the whale, treat it as if you just met a new friend today. And he'll give you a great show, have a great old time. They come here to feed on capelin, and they also come to show off to the locals and let everybody know they're happy to visit their favorite feeding buffet.
Stop it.
Wow, what an amazing show you saw.
It was, and all of that footage that you just saw of the whale breaching, that was different times. It was constant, almost the whole time. Yeah.
It's special to see it once, but to see it over and over and over again on that one trip.
Yeah, it was probably about 25 times maybe. It was amazing, yeah. And then to release a couple of baby puffins.
That must have felt so good.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Oh, well, from the ocean to the sky, nature put on quite a show over the weekend.
Yeah, it sure did. Have a look at this video. Just, there you go. A strike of lightning and then blackout. Steve Hewitt caught this on his doorbell camera. Lightning plunged a lot of the Avalon into darkness on Saturday.
Wow, it was just a blip for some folks. Most had their power back on within an hour, but pretty cool to see a lightning strike like that from a doorbell video camera.
Yeah. Very cool. A lot of that lightning, actually, you could see a couple of hours even before the system or the cell made it to the metro area. So certainly a treat when we don't see a whole lot of lightning, but this is also a treat to see a near cloudless sky today. This is Newfoundland and Labrador from space. NASA saw that photo from space, like I just said, and a beautiful day. The reason for that, ridge of high pressure, keeping things clear for the most part. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see the winds rotating clockwise around that. And that means we are seeing some onshore flow for parts of the Bonavista Peninsula as well as eastern areas of the Avalon. And that's why the temperatures are a little bit cooler today. So currently sitting at 16 degrees in St. John's. However, the further west you go, the more beautiful the temperatures. Even the further north you go, the more beautiful the temperatures. Happy Valley Goose Bay sitting at 27 degrees right now, 26 in Nain. And then temperatures along the southern shore just a little bit cooler, about 16 to 17 degrees this afternoon. Taking a look at what's going to happen tonight, not a whole lot. That ridge of high pressure is going to dominate the weather for the most part. We will see some showers roll through northern Labrador as well as Lab West as we get into the evening hours and overnight, and that'll spread a little bit further south along the coast. But overall, these clear skies will keep things calm tonight, and that means that we could see that risk of frost again in the lower lying areas. Temperatures dipping into the single digits and even less for those low lying areas, except along the southwest. Looks like we could see some fog and drizzle develop as you get into the morning hours, early morning hours. And then beautiful evening tonight for Happy Valley Goose Bay, sitting at 18 degrees as your overnight lows, and 16 in Cartwright tonight. A little bit breezy though. Those southwesterlies will be gusting upwards of about 50 kilometers per hour. As we head through the day tomorrow, that ridge of high pressure will still be in place for the most part. However, things will be a little bit unsettled through the day. We'll see a slight chance of showers, even some showers more than likely up across Labrador, stretching from Lab City through to about the mid-coast through the day, and then the afternoon across the island should be another beautiful day. You'll start to see your clouds on the increase as we get through the overnight and evening hours and the overnight, and we'll see that chance of showers roll through as well. So as far as the thunderstorm potential goes for tomorrow, along with those risk of showers, we are going to see that risk of thunderstorms likely going to be isolated if they do develop, but that risk is still there through the day. Now, the other thing we're going to note over the next couple of days is the humidity, the return of humidity. Tomorrow we'll start to see it in parts of Labrador. By Wednesday, we'll really start to see the humidity, but it's that heat. When we start to see the heat move in and more humidity, it looks like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at this point are looking really humid. Humidex values will more than likely reach the 30s again, mid to high 30s by the time we get into Saturday. So before we get there though, another beautiful day tomorrow, 23 degrees in St. John's. The winds will stay out of the south, about 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. A couple of degrees warmer as you get towards Clarenville, Bonavista area, and then keeping the temperatures just a little bit cooler for the southern portion of the Avalon, 18 to 20 degrees as your afternoon highs. Nothing but sunshine, at least for the first half of the day. You'll start to see some clouds move in later on, but 27 degrees for Grand Falls, Windsor. That chance of showers for Harbour Breton in the morning, and then that should clear off as well. And then temperatures across the western portion of the island looking absolutely beautiful. 24 degrees as your daytime high tomorrow, and similar temperature as you head towards the northern peninsula. As far as the rain goes, going to keep that chance of showers in for most of Labrador. The winds will stay breezy in the morning, and then they'll clear off or they'll ease as the day goes on. But there's that risk of showers, and again, that risk of thunderstorms through the day. Another warm day for Happy Valley Goose Bay at 26 degrees, and these temperatures are going to stick around for a little while. I'll get into the long range forecast when I come back.
Well, now we head to Labrador West, where dusty air has been an ongoing issue. NDP MHA Jordan Brown joins us now. So dust from mining operations isn't a new problem. Can you describe what it's like there now?
Yeah, so as you're well aware, and a lot of your viewers, especially in Labrador, aware, we've had our challenges with tailings dust and mine activity dust in this region for many years. In 2015, there had the Dust Silica report, which actually talked about how dusty and some of the tailings issues that we do have in this region.
And what's it like? Can you describe what it's like to walk down the street with the dust in the air? What's it like when you look out your window, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so when it's hot and dry and we get a bit of wind, the dust gets kicked up and it kind of blows around the communities accordingly. It's very present. You can feel it. It's in the air. There's no trouble to look up and you see the big plume of air. It's very uncomfortable, and it is impeding people's well-being.
What are you hearing from your constituents, from residents in the area about how this is affecting their lives?
A lot of people, like I said, especially people who are newer to the area, are concerned about health and safety. People who've been here for a long time are just tired of it.
And you met with the company recently to discuss mitigation efforts. So can you tell us what you heard from them and what's being done to control the dust levels?
Yeah, so I did meet with Takora and their managers and we did, and I did go out with their superintendent of environment. And we did go out and see the contractors and stuff and some of the work that they are doing. They're doing some seeding. They're applying a chemical called tackifier, which apparently turns the sand-like material of the tailings into like a clay that holds it together so the wind can't lift it off. And they're also do have some water trucks out there and some contractors are spraying the tailings down, keeping it moist to try to prevent dust lift off. So there is some mitigation ongoing. They do understand it's a issue and they are in the works of trying to rectify as much as they possibly can at this time.
So were you satisfied by what you heard from them?
Well, the company is only obligated to do so much. At the end of the day, it's actually really the government's place to actually take responsibility of this well, because these two mines have been here since the 50s and 60s, and so they were allowed to place their tailings like they do. It's grandfathered in, they're allowed to do it. So at the end of the day is we have to turn back and look at the government and say, they have a responsibility to take as well.
What can they do about it?
Well, absolutely. But right now, they, like I said, take the Labrador Institute. Right now, they have the pie farm over there, a research farm. Why are the Department of Environment not going to the Memorial University and Labrador Institute and saying, can you guys research on what can actually physically grow on these mine tailings, or what kind of trees or shrubberies that can be done to actually accelerate the remediation and to protect and keep the dust lift off? Is this, governments allowed this to happen since the 50s and 60s. They are just as responsible as the two mining companies.
So you would like to see government step in and try to fix this for the companies?
Well, not just for the companies, for the region and for residents and the well-being, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who signed off on it. They're the ones who allowed it to happen. And right now, they're just monitoring. If you ask them what are they doing, they're monitoring the situation. But at the end of the day, this is also going to get worse. We have climate change. We're having hotter and longer summer days in Labrador. And if we don't actually speed up and accelerate the process of covering over these tailings, it's just going to get worse. And so government has just as much responsibility to do something about this as the two mining companies do.
Well, Jordan Brown, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. You take care.
I'm just going to push. I would love to be on that podium.
Preparing for the Paralympics, Katarina Roxon is getting ready for the games. We catch up with her before she takes off for Tokyo. Yesterday's closing ceremony was capped off with a spectacular light show, but just like the games, it was held in a stadium without spectators. The final day of competition saw cyclist Kelsey Mitchell win Canada's 7th gold medal. Team Canada is bringing home a total of 24 medals from the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And while the Olympic athletes are heading home, our Paralympians are just getting started. Canada is sending 128 athletes to Tokyo for the Paralympic Games, which are just 2 weeks away. Among the athletes is our own Katarina Roxon from Kippens. The swimmer won gold at the 2016 Rio Summer Paralympic Games, and pretty soon she's bound for Tokyo. Here Now's Peter Cowan reached her in BC.
Katarina Roxon, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're in Vancouver, you're getting ready for the games. How are you feeling right now?
You know, I'm feeling pretty great. Of course, like there's different stresses that comes being an elite athlete. But before I left home, we dealt with those stresses, and my dad is pretty great with that. So chatted with my dad, and honestly, he told me just to trust in God, and that really calmed me down and made me more relaxed. And going into these games for sure, just like I did the last games, just got to trust in God and just enjoy the process of it and enjoy the moment. And I think it'll be a pretty great games. And right now I'm feeling pretty good, a little jet lagged, coming from Newfoundland all the way to BC. So just still getting used to the time zone, but otherwise I'm feeling pretty great.
You mentioned your dad there. The difference, of course, with this games is families aren't able to come and be with you there. So how hard is it going to be for you to be all that distance away from that support structure that you rely on?
Honestly, it won't be too different than from Rio. Both my parents and my sister weren't able to come to Rio as well. So I talk to them every single day anyways. Technology is amazing that I can FaceTime them, call them whenever, and being who they are, they'll answer my call whatever time of the day it is. So it's pretty great. I'm kind of used to it now. So it's not so much of a big adjustment not having them there. But of course, I would love for them to be there. It's unfortunate that they can't, but I know that they're going to be cheering and watching me from afar.
So the last Olympics, you came back with a gold medal. You've got the road named after you. So after an Olympics like that, how do you try and top it?
You know, it's hard. You go through so many different emotions, different feelings of motivation. These last 5 years have not been easy by any means. Lots of low moments, but it makes the high moments even more incredible. So getting my motivation back, my love for the sport back, and I'm truly loving training. I'm loving hopefully competing again. I haven't competed in almost a year and a half now, so it'll be fun. It'll be interesting, but again, you know what? Each games I've been to has been a completely different experience. I've loved every 3 of the games I've been to, and they all mean so much to me. So again, these games will be completely different than the rest, based because of COVID is just thrown everyone for a loop. But it's I like to say it's just an added feature to the experience. Something that a lot of people will never be able to say they've ever done. They've never competed at Olympics or Paralympics during a pandemic. So it's something that I'm going into really vigilant on how the hygiene is, staying on top of my hand sanitizing, my mask, all that stuff. So just extra things that we have to do. It's just makes us more on top of staying healthy. So for us, it's not something that I can really compare to any other games, as it's a completely new experience for me. We're going into this, for me personally, I'm just gonna push. I would love to be on that podium. Everyone, it's been a hard year, hard 5 years, but you know what? I'm gonna push, give it my all, trust in God through the whole process of it, and whatever the result is, I'll be happy with it. I'm going for a best time. If I can do a best time, I'll be happy, and to get on top of the podium will be a cherry on top. Again, it's a lot of different emotions going into it throughout this pandemic period. But like I said, my trust is in God, and whatever the result is, I'll be so happy with it. And I'm really hoping that our team does well enough to get on top of the podium for our relay. We got a bronze at Worlds, so we're hoping to remake that and maybe even push up our placing a little bit.
Well, the rest of the province here is all going to be cheering you on, even though we're almost on the other side of the world. So good luck on this last bit of training and as you head towards Tokyo.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Honestly, thank you everyone back home, Newfoundland and Labrador. You have a very close place to my heart. I carry you with me wherever I go, whenever I compete, and when I'm standing on podium. So thank you so much.
what a wonderful growing season that we've had so far this summer. My greenhouse is gushing with fresh vegetables, and my flowers seem to have been blooming a little bit earlier than normal.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful summer. I have peaches for the first time that I'm really excited about in my backyard this year. Well, here now decided to take a tour of some gorgeous gardens this summer to see how people have been taking advantage of the beautiful weather. Have a look.
Well, we've been gardening here for 40 years, so it's changed a lot over the years. I have some philopendula behind me, a pink one, and there's a white one further up. There's rhododendrons, there's lupins, there's roses further up by the pool. Yep, and that I have a rose there in this bed that's probably 35 years old. I bought it from Gay Seed, a bare root. It's called a Queen Elizabeth grandiflora, and it's about 35 years old. And every year I pray that it makes it again, and it does. I'm very lucky. Well, when we bought the house 40 years ago, there was a garden here. There was a vegetable garden and there was flower gardens. And we weren't really gardeners when we bought the house. We had a small baby, and but it just inspired us, really, because it's such a lovely piece of land. And so we started gardening. And John's father was an avid vegetable gardener, so he got a lot of advice from him about that. But I just winged it, really.
I grow practically everything. I grow strawberries to come down the garden there. There's strawberries, there's onions, there's lettuce, there's garlic, there's parsnip, there's tomatoes, lots of tomatoes, 36 tomatoes, green beans, potatoes, runner beans, snow peas, and of course the Newfoundland favorite rhubarb. And then berry bushes, big raspberry bushes, and blackberries, English blackberries as well. So it's quite a variety. There's one bit of advice I'd give people if they're getting into starting gardening, is that you don't just go to a nursery or whatever and buy any tomato plant. You have to look at whether the tomato plant is going to be suitable for our climate. The two I'm down to now after 30 years is Red Alert is the earliest one, and that's remarkably early. I'll have ripe tomatoes this is mid-July, I'll have ripe tomatoes in another 2 weeks out in the garden. Well, my dad started. I grew up in central Newfoundland, and my dad was a great gardener, businessman, but it was his relaxation away from business, and he was mayor of the town and so on. So he was always under lots of stress, and gardening was his release, and it has been for me too. I've had a long professional career, and it's my release too.
For me, standing in my kitchen window and looking down this garden gives me a feeling of happiness. Yeah, joy, really. I love it.
Well, a CBC investigation has found that a document that's playing a big role in an Indigenous land claim is likely fake. Right now, Algonquin people in Ontario are finalizing a deal with the provincial and federal governments that involves cash and more than 500 square kilometers of land. One of the final steps is determining precisely who is Algonquin and a legitimate beneficiary of this deal. Jeff Leo reports.
Right now, there are about 1,000 people who claim that they are Algonquin and beneficiaries of the pending treaty because one of their relatives, a man from the 1800s named Thomas Lagarde, was Algonquin. But that claim is controversial, and it's now hanging by a slender thread.
He was purely French.
University of Ottawa professor Veldon Coburn, who is himself Algonquin, says if you were to search Thomas Lagarde on a genealogical website, you would find a very consistent message.
There is no hint of being Indigenous, let alone being Algonquin, in any documentation before or since.
But there is one document that tells a different story. In this recently discovered mysterious letter, a priest named Father Brunet tells his bishop that Lagarde was, quote, descended from Algonquins. That letter was entered as evidence at a hearing in 2013, which was held to determine whether or not Lagarde was Algonquin. The hearing judge found the letter persuasive and concluded Lagarde was truly Algonquin.
At the 11th hour, just coming in to save the day, a mysterious letter shows up.
Coburn says there are plenty of reasons to be skeptical. He notes that the letter was discovered by William Mann. Mann is the Supreme Grand Master of Canada's Knights Templar organization, a secretive society of Freemasons. He's also the author of a series of conspiracy theory books about the Knights Templar. Mann claims a photo of the mysterious letter showed up in his mailbox a few years back. He won't say who sent it or where the original is now.
It seems all rather mysterious, but within my circles, you wouldn't question it.
But a CBC investigation has raised many questions. A handwriting expert compared this letter to handwriting of the real Father Brunet of history and found that they didn't match. One historian examined the contents of the letter and noted that it contained glaring historical errors. For example, it referred to a Catholic diocese which never actually existed. Another historian conducted an archival search and found 2 lines of evidence that led him to conclude this letter was likely not authentic.
Those 2 things combined would lead me to be highly suspicious of the origins of the photocopied Lagarde letter. And as a result, I wouldn't use it in my own research and I wouldn't rely on it.
Bill Mann says he stands by the authenticity of the letter, and he worries that CBC's investigation could rip the Algonquin land claim process apart. The organization running that process says if there are any questions about this letter, they can be addressed at a process set up to address those concerns this fall. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Regina.
Well, an ice cream stand in Nova Scotia has developed a unique approach to help cool down customers and the planet. It's using solar power. CBC's Brett Ruskin has the story of this teenage entrepreneur.
Usually, this is what happens to ice cream in the sun. But here, the hot sun keeps things cool.
So on the top of the trailer, we have 4 solar panels, and they connect to these wires here that lead down to the generator box, and then the generator connects the wires to the freezer and the sink.
You're going to get her prints. What size did you want?
The solar-powered ice cream stand idea came after Nicholson took part in a program to help young female entrepreneurs.
And I really like working for myself, my own kind of business. I really like that idea.
The 15-year-old had some help from her parents and family friends, but now runs the stand with her one employee, her best friend Chelsea.
So this one is Mariner Sea Salt. It's basically like a vanilla base with caramel and chocolate chunks.
Onboard batteries can last 24 hours to prevent a literal meltdown.
There's his piece.
Would you like a cup with that?
So far, this hot summer has meant cold, hard cash, all from a business using only renewable energy.
And what do you think about the solar part of it?
I think it's wonderful, wonderful idea.
Everyone needs to step up their game.
I mean, you can do it.
Yeah, if I can, anyone can.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you.
Nicholson says she plans to keep the stand running at least until September. That's when she starts grade 10. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Antigonish, Nova Scotia.
Well, from solar power and the sun to space and meteors, if you enjoy looking up to the stars, there's a show in store for you.
Yeah, right? Meteor shower happens around this time every year, but we've got some clear skies tonight. So if you want to look up, let's take a look at what you can see. So there's the meteor shower there. Good chance you'll see the shower tonight, the meteor shower tonight. You could see likely not as much as 60 to 80 or 60 to 100. You'll probably see a little bit less than that because it'll peak as we get into August 11th to the 13th. But still a pretty nice night to see that. Not so much tomorrow. That's when we're going to see a lot more cloud cover roll in, and it's going to bring in some rain as well as we get into Wednesday. We'll start to see that cloud cover overnight and then rain the story. So we're looking at temperatures into the 20s again for Wednesday. Beautiful temperatures up across Labrador. Again, 27 degrees for Lab City, 26 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and then into the teens, the high teens for the coastal areas of Labrador. Now, the other thing you're going to note, Wednesdays, things are going to start to get a little bit humid through the day. But as we get into Thursday, this is the dew point temperatures. When we start to get into the 16 to 18 degree temperatures, that's when you start to get uncomfortable through the day as far as that humidex value goes. And then even more so as we get into Friday and Saturday. This is when we're going to start to see humidex values likely up into the mid to high 30s through the day. So if you could see those dew points anywhere from 21 to 22 through central. So certainly going to be hot and humid. Temperatures will be warm, anywhere from 22 to 28 degrees as you head towards Corner Brook, and they're going to hang on to those warm temperatures again through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Cartwright as your daytime highs sit around 28 degrees. Now, it's going to be unsettled through the day on Thursday, but as we get into Friday, temperatures will stay warm again, and well, they're going to start to get warmer for St. John's and Eastern Newfoundland. But also the less chance that we'll see some showers, certainly through the day. We may see some showers late day, but overall it's looking fairly nice. Central Newfoundland looking at a beautiful start to the weekend, 27 to 29 degrees. Again, very humid conditions. Overnight lows, 22 degrees it looks like for Saturday night. For Western Newfoundland, you're looking at more unsettled conditions, both Friday and Saturday. A little bit more cloud cover in play for you. And then for Eastern Labrador, temperatures in the high 20s right across the board. A little bit of a chance of some showers on Friday, but overall gorgeous looking forecast for you. And unfortunately, a little bit more unsettled for Western Labrador, but your temperatures still beautiful until we get into Saturday and into about 17 degrees. Had to share this photo with you. Boats awaiting their next adventure in freshwater carboneer. Great shot there, Kathy. Thank you for sharing that with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
A fantastic shot. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good night.